Well, today's recipe, I was the one that selected it. So today we're gonna do quesitos. You can translate it to cheese turnovers, but it's not the same. Usually you can find these in panaderias, but here in the state, if you don't live in a Latin area where there's a lot of Puerto Ricans, they're really difficult to find. So let's start and see how we can make this recipe. Hello, my name is Shabrska.
And my name is Sandra and I'm Sumay.
In this channel, the secret ingredient is love. All the ingredients, equipment, or utensils that we're gonna be using for this recipe, I'm gonna leave it in the description box below. Let's start cooking this recipe.
The first thing that we're gonna start preparing is our filling. Our filling is really simple. It's just a bar of cream cheese, around a fourth of a cup of sugar, and vanilla extract. You're gonna mix it until it's smooth, but you're gonna add your cream cheese and sugar and you're gonna stir that together. If the cream cheese is still too hard, for me it was too hard, even though I left it for a while at room temperature. I put it for a little bit on the microwave so it was more easy to mix. Then this is around a tablespoon and a half of vanilla extract. And again, you're just gonna mix it in. This dessert is really popular in Puerto Rico. We have bread shops or cafes, whatever you want to call them, and they sell these bread and other pastries. Here where I live, I haven't found one that is as good as the one up back home. Once you have your mixture ready, you can use a piping bag, but not everybody buy piping bags. That's why I decided to use a Ziploc bag. So I put my Ziploc bag in a cup so it holds the Ziploc bag while I'm filling it with the cream cheese mixture. And I put it in the fridge so it will harden it a little bit because I heat it too much. Once your filling is done, that's when you're gonna start to cut your puff pastry. You can do puff pastry, but it has a lot of steps in it, and if you live in a really humid area, it's really challenging to do. That's why a lot of people just buy it at the store. And even hotels and restaurants that I have worked for, they really made it from scratch because it takes a lot of time. This one, I decided to cut it on 4 squares. And it comes with 2 sheets, so I got 8 squares out of a package. And another important thing, when you're working with puff pastry, you have to work with it when it's really cold. If you let it get too hot, it's gonna start melting, the butter is gonna start melting too, and it's gonna be a mess. So now I cut one of the corners of my Ziploc bag, and I'm using it as a piping bag, as you guys see. And I use all my filling in those 4 squares, in those 8 squares. I just divide it evenly or semi-evenly, all the mixture in between my 8 squares. Afterwards, gonna come the most important part. I have heard a lot of people is like, oh, they open, oh, they don't turn right. This is the critical part in the quesitos. What's gonna come next is how you close it. You can close it like a burrito. I have seen that, But this is the way I do it. I take one of the corners and close it until the half of the square, and then I stretch a little bit the opposite corner and I wrap it around to the bottom of my quesito. And that ensures, if you notice, I pull it a little bit and then I put it on the bottom of my quesito, and that ensures that it doesn't open while it bakes. But like I say, you can close it like a burrito. There you go. You see I'm stretching it a little bit so it goes all the way until the bottom. And I forgot to say, this pan, I prep it. It already has a little bit of spray. You don't need to put a lot of it because puff pastry has layers and layers of butter. So if you put too much spray, they're gonna end up greasy. It's just mostly to hold the paper, and when you put the sugar doesn't stick that much to the pan. And that's how it looks. Now we're gonna prepare an egg wash. This is 1 egg. It's too much, but hey, you cannot split an egg. And I added a couple of tablespoons of water, and then I mix it in. The egg wash, what it's gonna do is gonna make sure that they get golden evenly. And we're just gonna brush all our quesitos with that egg wash mixture that we just did. And then let me talk before I start adding my sugars. I decided to use 2 sugars. One is turbinado sugar. It's a really big grain of sugar that it doesn't melt once you bake it. I like to use it when I do my cheesecake crust because you can feel that crunchiness in it, and I like to use it on the quesitos because again it adds crunchiness to it. And then I sprinkle a little bit of regular sugar on top of my quesitos. Then you guys are gonna bake this at 350 around 15 to 20 minutes until they completely golden brown. Halfway through the cooking, I like to flip the back to the front so all of my quesitos end up cooking evenly, like as you guys can see here. If you notice, since I tuck that corner under the quesito, they didn't open. Also, you guys can do a simple syrup, or you can use honey, but I like agave because it's a more mild flavor, and you can taste better the cream cheese and the butter in the puff pastry with this agave syrup. And this is how our quesitos end up looking. You guys can see the cream cheese in the middle, and you can see all the layers that was created once that butter melt in the puff pastry, and the grains of sugar and the shininess of the syrup. Let's see how this recipe tastes, and let's see what mommy thinks about my quesitos.
Let's see how this recipe turned out. Cheers! Look at all the flakiness.
Delicious.
We don't have to envy the panaderías. It's so good. This recipe is not difficult, especially if you buy the store-bought puff pastry. You just have to make sure that you close it really tight so it doesn't open while you're baking.
This is for my sister-in-law in Ohio.
She loves quesitos. Every time she comes, I have to make some for her. So if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, don't forget to subscribe. And if you really like this video, don't forget to share it. I see you next week. Ciao.
Oh, bye.